Tensions have once again flared between neighbors Somalia and Ethiopia, who recently signed a peace deal claiming to have ended a dangerous feud. But in less than a fortnight, cracks seem to have emerged in the Turkey-mediated deal between the two nations. Somalia has accused the Ethiopian forces of a deadly attack on its troops, and the attack comes just after Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan brought the warring neighbors together to the negotiating tables and signed an accord aimed at resolving the conflict. The Somali Foreign Ministry said that Ethiopian troops had attacked its forces stationed at an airstrip in the border town of Dulo, which is located in Somalia's Jubaland state. Somalia also said that the attack targeted 3 bases that were protected by the country's army, police and national intelligence and security agency, and said had caused several fatalities without giving a precise number. However, Jubaland state officials reportedly said that the Ethiopian forces who are stationed at the airstrip as part of a mission against Islamist insurgents intervened to protect a group of local politicians. The state of Jubaland is one of Somalia's 6 semi-autonomous member states. These states have often clashed with the central government in Mogadishu, either seeking greater autonomy or independence from Somalia. This is the first such visit since the two sides signed a deal in Ankara to end the conflict pertaining to Ethiopia's port deal with Somaliland, which is Somalia's breakaway region that has been seeking global recognition. In the beginning of this year, landlocked Ethiopia signed an agreement with Somaliland to lease a port and a military base on its coastline. In exchange, Ethiopia offered recognition to Somaliland, and Somalia viewed this as a breach of its sovereignty. Now, as part of the Ankara deal signed by President of the Somalia and the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, the two countries decided to de-escalate tensions and move toward peace. They also agreed on talks around Ethiopia ending its agreement with Somaliland in exchange for access to Somalia's ports. They also agreed to increase the trade between the two neighboring countries. However, the latest clashes have once again exposed the fissures between the two neighbors. Somalia says Ethiopia has undermined their Ankara agreement. It further added that Somalia would not remain silent in the face of violation of its sovereignty and territorial integrity. So will this standoff now put the Ankara deal that was aimed to bring peace in the Horn of Africa under threat?
Welcome to DRAR for Africa. Today we are diving into a critical and complex issue shaping the Horn of Africa. The ongoing Ethiopia-Somalia conflict. As tensions escalate, the stakes are high, not just for the two nations involved, but the entire region. What are the root causes driving this conflict? How might it reshape Ethiopia-Somalia and their relations with neighboring countries? And most importantly, what does this mean for the future of peace and stability in the Horn of Africa? Stay tuned as we unpack the key developments, explore expert perspectives, and analyze what the future might hold for this volatile region. Let's begin.
The general view was that African states should take the lead and recognise it first. Meanwhile, Ethiopia closely monitored developments in Somalia, fearing that they could feed broader regional instability. This came to a head in 2006 when Ethiopia launched a full-scale military invasion to drive out an Islamist group that had gained control of the Somali capital, Mogadishu. Following this, Ethiopia also supported Somalia's gradual efforts to rebuild under a federal government, playing a central role in an African Union peacekeeping mission to the country and assisting with Somali efforts to defeat al-Shabaab, another Islamist insurgency that gained ground in Somalia. By 2018, relations between Ethiopia and Somalia were strengthening, particularly following the emergence of a young reformist prime minister in Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed Ali, who promised greater regional and international cooperation. However, as Ethiopia steadily enhanced its status, becoming an increasingly assertive economic and political actor, the issue of sea access, lost with Eritrean independence, came to the forefront once more. And it's this that sparked renewed tensions with Somalia.
By Ethiopian forces in the town of Dulo, Gedo region. Somali military positions, including bases of the Somali National Army, NISA and the police, were targeted in a coordinated assault on Monday. Tragically, this led to casualties among Somali forces and injuries to civilians. The federal government of Somalia has labeled this attack as a deliberate provocation, a violation of Somalia's sovereignty, and a breach of the Ankara agreement signed just last year. This accord, brokered by Turkey, was meant to strengthen ties between Ethiopia and Somalia, but this incident has cast a shadow over those efforts. with Somalia warning Ethiopia to respect international agreements and avoid actions that threaten peace and stability. Both nations must verify the credibility of these reports to prevent further strain on their relationship. While tensions flare in Gedo, Somalia is navigating a complex diplomatic chessboard. On Monday, the Somali government sent its foreign minister Ahmed Mualim Fiki to Cairo and its deputy minister Ali Omar to Addis Ababa. This dual engagement raises questions about Mogadishu's strategy amid the ongoing Nile waters dispute between Egypt and Ethiopia. In Cairo, Minister Fiki held talks with his Egyptian counterpart, Badr Abdelati. Both sides reaffirmed their commitment to strengthening ties and emphasized regional peace efforts. Egypt highlighted its support for Somalia's sovereignty and unity while announcing plans for an Egyptian-Somali Economic Forum in early 2025. Meanwhile, Ali Omar's visit to Ethiopia aimed to solidify the Ankara agreement. This delicate balancing act signals Somalia's attempt to maintain neutrality even as it reassures its Egyptian allies. As if that wasn't enough, Somalia is also grappling with internal challenges. The recent dismissal of former Petroleum Minister Abdirizak Omar has sparked controversy. Omar claims his removal stemmed from disagreements with President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud over clan-based power-sharing issues in Hirshabelle state. However, reports suggest the rift may have been fueled by disputes over oil drilling contracts. Whatever the case, this shake-up reflects deeper political tensions within Somalia's leadership, adding another layer of complexity to the country's challenges. Adding to the mix, Somalia is preparing for the transition from the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia, our ATMIS, to the AU Support and Stabilization Mission, AUSM, in 2025. Both Egypt and Ethiopia are expected to play pivotal roles in this new mission. While Ethiopia's involvement aims to address security concerns, Egypt's contributions highlight its strategic interest in Somalia. This collaboration presents a diplomatic tightrope for Mogadishu as it seeks to balance regional power dynamics. In the face of these challenges, Somalia's path forward is anything but simple. From tensions with Ethiopia to strengthening ties with Egypt, Mogadishu is navigating a delicate balance to protect its sovereignty, foster stability, and ensure regional cooperation.
This year, recently, the relations between China and Somalia have shown, a good momentum of development. In the past 2 years, President Xi Jinping of China met with President Mohammed of Somalia twice, especially in September this year. During the FOCA meeting, the two presidents met once again. So the two presidents reached a great consensus on elevating the relations to strategic partnership, which draw a new blueprint for the future development of our relations between the two countries. So we would like to look to the future. We would like to work together with Somali side to further promote our relations in all fronts and actively implementing the outcome of the FOCA meeting and also the important common understanding between the two presidents so as to promote the strategic partnership between China and Somalia to a new high. So I would like to answer your questions this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Your Excellency, China has been a steadfast partner to Somalia, particularly in supporting Somalia's sovereignty and unity and territorial integrity. How would you characterize the current state of Somali-China relations?
As I described just now, the relations between our two countries, a very good shape, in a very good shape. This morning, I had a very fruitful meeting with President and also Foreign Minister. As the President said, that the relations between China and Somalia were at the highest in the history, and I also, during the meeting with the President and the Foreign Minister, we agreed that both China and Somalia should the historical mission of safeguarding national sovereignty and territorial integrity. and we always supported each other, touching upon the issues touching upon the national sovereignty and territorial integrity. And we also agreed to firmly oppose any action to split the country. And the Chinese side highly appreciate the One China principle pursued by the Somali government. And likewise, the Chinese government also pursue the One Somali principle.
The relationship between Ethiopia and Somalia. For over 60 years, the two countries have had problematic relations, at times even resorting to war and invasion. But could things be about to improve? The Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia and the Republic of Somalia lie in East Africa. Landlocked, Ethiopia has a highly mixed population comprising over 80 distinct ethnic groups. These include Oromos, Amhara, Tigrayans and a large Somali community in its east. By contrast, Somalia is one of the least ethnically diverse countries on the continent. Almost all its inhabitants are ethnic Somalis. However, the society is divided by a highly complex network of clan affiliations. It's also divided as the northern region of Somaliland broke away at the start of the 1990s. While Ethiopia and Somalia have long histories stretching back to antiquity, our story really starts in the late 19th century when European powers began colonising Africa. While Ethiopia, then known as Abyssinia, was never formally conquered, the Somali-inhabited lands on the coast were divided between the French, the British and the Italians. Meanwhile, in 1887, the Ethiopian Empire seized control of the predominantly Somali-inhabited Ogaden region, a move Britain accepted a decade later. In 1960, as decolonisation gathered pace, British and Italian Somaliland united to form a new independent state, the Somali Republic. However, relations between the new country and neighbouring Ethiopia were strained from the start as Somali nationalists sought to unite all Somali-inhabited areas into a single Greater Somalia, in addition to the French-held territory, which later became the Republic of Djibouti and parts of Kenya. The claims also included the Ogaden region.
Trun described Ethiopia's request to access the Red Sea as legitimate and urged continued dialogue to foster peace in the region. Ethiopia has expressed its willingness to officially recognize Somaliland's independence in exchange for a strategic strip of land near the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean.
More than anything, we've discussed in detail about Ethiopia's wish to access the Red Sea through a peaceful means. As we have raised it before repeatedly, a nation with 130 million population and economy growing at speed needs additional access through a peaceful means and diplomatic means with the help of friendly nations like France. On various challenges facing Ethiopia, we have agreed on the importance of continuing the implementation of the Pretoria Agreement, which means the cornerstone of peace and stability in Tigray. The recent launch of the disarmament process has been awaited. This is a significant step.